Hey, what's up? What the Villain Club's back with the VC. I'm on YouTube and Rumble. Subscribe on YouTube or follow me on Rumble, whichever's more convenient for you, and or both. By the way, that'd be a great thing. And let's talk about it. All right, anything and everything. Nothing's off the table. And I'm back for another day, so we could play. And let's get to it here. All right, so a couple of big things that's come about over the past day or two since I wasn't able to put one out yesterday. I was so tied up on time constraints. Um, Big thing is here. As let's talk about this here
US President Donald Trump
before we go into this. Trump revoked security clearances for several notable people. And he did so earlier this year when he came into office and revoked some security clearances, and did so again on Friday. So deservingly so, because I mean, why do they need them? You know what I mean? Security clearance. Plus, it's like some people say, oh, you're just, being bitter and, you're seeking revenge and all this other stuff. And I say, you know what? So what? You know what I'm saying? So what? Um, it's funny how when you have your political opponents go after you and, weaponize the system against you, and yet when he's doing the same thing as pretty much like retribution. Oh, it's so bad, right? It was so bad when they weaponized the system against him, right? But, the liberal media wouldn't report it as such, but now it's so bad when Trump does it just because the other side started it first type of thing. And then you can always argue, oh, you should take the high road and all this stuff. Fuck that shit. All right. I do the same thing. Honestly, I would just do the same thing. So let's see what they got to say here.
Trump has revoked the access to classified documents for several former White House officials. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Hillary Clinton were among those who
Good.
had their clearance stripped. It's understood a presidential memorandum revealed it was no longer in the national interests for them to
They don't
have
need it.
access. Former presidents and national
Like, think about it. Biden's not president anymore. Plus, we all know he's not totally there, and we know that he uses the information pretty much just to, for purposes of books and things like that, selling books, right? We already knew he was starting to do that when he was gathering information. And he has classified documents in his garage, and he had a ghostwriter and all this stuff that he was already starting to do, right? And same thing. What's Kamala right now? She's nothing, right? Just a former vice president. What does she need it for, right? Probably do the same thing, just to grift. This is all just grifting, right? Grifting means, for the purposes of just making money, right? Hillary Clinton, she's so irrelevant. What does she need it for? She's nothing, right? So maybe she could ask Bill, hey, what you got today for any sort of government stuff that's come through? Go ask Bill.
security officials usually retain a security clearance as a courtesy.
Yeah, it's just a courtesy, not so almost like a privilege, right? You burn your bridge. I mean, it's just I don't want to say, if I was gonna say, like, th- there's probably some individuals that should be taken. There's more individuals should be taken, but I'm not sure. I got to look at the list of names here. I didn't even look at that. So let me see if I can find something on that here. Um, let's see here. Let me try this one.
President Trump has revoked access to classified information for his former political rivals. Vaughn Hilliard is in Bedminster, New Jersey tonight covering the president. Vaughn, what prompted the president to make this move?
That's right, Jose. Back in 2021, President Biden revoked the security clearances for President Trump when he left office. But today, President Trump is going much, much further. He had already revoked security clearances for dozens of former U.S. national security officials and President Biden. But now he's adding former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, former Vice President Kamala Harris, and several other high-level Biden administration officials, saying it is no longer in the national interest to have them have that access.
And Vaughn, more than half a million people in the country are potentially losing their legal status here?
That's right. The administration is ending a program that gave a certain number of Haitians, Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, and Cubans temporary legal status in the U.S. to work for up to 2 years in the country. The parole program, it was started by the Biden administration, and it allowed these individuals into the country after they applied, went through background checks, and had the support of sponsors. This is just the latest move by the...
So think about that, all right? Not even a deep background check, and then what sponsor? There's probably no sponsor. There's probably just a made-up name, and it was just accepted. And then all these countries were able to come in on a so-called work visa for up to 2 years, a special work visa for these, particular countries here. Yeah, pull that shit. I agree with that. What's the point of it?
Just the latest move by the Trump administration to remove and take away legal protections for legal immigrants here in the country. Jose?
Thanks for watching. Stay.
Yeah. How are they legal immigrants? Are they? I mean, they were, you can't, I would say you should recheck all that and see how many of those are officially real sponsors. And if they actually did go through a thorough background check, because we all know that in the Biden administration, it was very, very soft, and at best, they just did maybe a quick check. All right, come on in. All right, so nah. All right, so I like it. I like the fact that all this sort of security clearance was taken. It's just there was no point when doing what Biden did, and everything that he's done to spite Trump is coming back to bite him in the ass now. And for the people that were part of the Biden administration or part of the whole liberal progressive establishment, and it's starting to all come back to them now. And another great move is Trump ending Secret Service protection for Hunter Biden. Like, why does he need it? And so, he has it along with his wife, Ashley Biden. And so I think deservingly it should be removed because they have zero clout or bearing as to needing
we get pretty excited about
Secret Service
around
protection.
Here, it's not a patio, it's patio.
Oh, I love
it. Yeah, so there's no need for that for them. And why would you want to protect corrupt people like Hunter Biden? So yeah, I think it's a great move.
Here to live now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Pace. Thanks again for joining us. We bring you some breaking news that President Trump just put out moments ago, ending the Secret Service protection for Hunter Biden immediately, and also others in the Biden family. So let's show you this Truth Social from just moments ago. President Trump saying Hunter Biden has had Secret Service protection for an extended period of time, all paid for by the United States taxpayer. There are as many as 18 people on this detail, which is ridiculous. He is currently vacationing in all places, South Africa, where the human rights of people have been strenuously questioned. Because of this, South Africa has been taken off our list of countries receiving economic and financial assistance. Please be advised that effective immediately, Hunter Biden will no longer receive Secret Service protection. Likewise, Ashley Biden, who has 13 agents, will be taking off the list as well. So again, that's big breaking news just coming from the Truth Social Post. We should also tell you that former presidents and their spouses receive lifelong Secret Service protection under federal law, but the protection afforded to their immediate families over the age of 16 ends when they leave office, although both President Trump and President Biden extended the details of their children for 6 months before leaving office there. So again, we will be following this.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of agents, Secret Service, to protect them. So, yeah, it's a good thing. I like it. You know, get rid of that shit. They don't need that shit. Alright. So security clearances revoked. Secret Service details revoked. Extended to the Biden family. Not Biden himself, but extended family there. So, good. Glad to see. Alright. Trump overturning Biden's pardons. That's a work in progress. And I think going back to the whole controversy of the whole pardon stuff, it was said that the pardons were snuck through. I covered this a couple days ago, and that this is all auto pin. So if it was auto pin, as it was proven to be, a lot of it could have been just snuck in there without Joe Biden even knowing. You know what I mean? You just throw some paperwork in there, have a sign, because everything else is being signed by AutoPin anyways. So think about that. And look at this here. 31 agents combined for security details of Ashley and Hunter Biden. Alright, and so, yeah. That's not going to work. Alright. That is a waste of taxpayer money and all that. So yeah, I'm glad to see that happening. Alright, and then of course, we all know about the terrorism that's happening domestically in the U.S. with all these fools, protesting in a form of destroying Teslas. Right, whether it's at the Tesla companies or people's individual cars. It's some, put it frank, how about matter of fact, fucked up shit. So, it's just one of those things,
For years.
Yeah, so.
We've been telling clients it's nearly impossible.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more than boycotting, Rachel. So what are we saying now? Fiery, but mostly peaceful? She carefully cherry-picked nice, wholesome-looking protest videos. But as you can see, that is not at all the real story. It appears selectively excusing violence is now the hill the Democrats are choosing to die.
Yeah, so, how can Democrats say that they've always peacefully protested and blah, 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 when all they've done is violence and destruction as a form of protesting, right? And so, yeah, and it's proven time and time and time again that they like to act out on it rather than do it. And we've learned over time that Democrats, liberal progressive Democrats, just all left. The thing about them is that they always do the opposite of what they say, right? Or what they claim to be. It's always the opposite, extreme opposite. And it's proven all these years. When they talk about all the elites and stuff, all the elites are, Democrats, right? And you look at the violence, it's typically Democrats. And so it's just funny how it's always contradicting and the opposite of what they say.
Joining us now to react, Fox News political analyst Gianno Caldwell. I don't know which of these apologists and apologies are the most stunning. But I think people getting their knickers in a twist about violent, murderous gang members being deported. Or
that was another thing, too.
The framing by all of the media minions, the New York Times is an example.
That's another thing I want to talk about.
Just a professor and a surgeon is being deported for no reason when it turns out that she was essentially worshiping at the altar of a terrorist and was in Lebanon at the funeral of the leader of Hezbollah.
Yeah. And, you know, I heard Steve say that the Democratic Party is now the party of violence, but I would argue they've long been the party of violence.
Always been.
I think back to what Maxine Waters said, if you see someone from the Trump administration, you get out, you make a crowd, and you push back on them. We've had many, many other examples to cite as to why they're the party of violence. And when I saw back in 2016 a poll where it said a good majority of Americans feared political violence, and now we're seeing this before our own very eyes. Tesla is a private American company. This is not a government facility. It's not owned by the government. These are private owners. Either you own a vehicle or a dealership. The fact that they're doing this makes them a part of the terrorism, in my humble opinion.
Yeah,
the fact
straight
that they're
up
going
domestic
out and saying,
terrorism.
we know the names of Tesla owners. We're giving their addresses, and we're going to show you how to cause destruction to them. Is terrorism. This is something Cass Patel should absolutely be looking out.
They should all be prosecuted to the fullest.
Previously, if you were a Catholic, then you were on some terrorist watch list. This is legitimate terrorism. It's domestic
I've been
terrorism.
saying that the whole time.
Jano, and I appreciate you saying that so clearly. Joining the conversation now, let's bring in host of the 47 Morning Update podcast and co-host of Verdict with Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson. Ben, I mean, after all their lectures, the Democrats on, our democracy and their outrage over everything that happened on January the 6th. I mean, it's never about their principles. It's about their power. And this is just the latest example. They can't stand not having it.
Yeah, I also think it's an issue of just follow the money. And if you look at the money, whether it's on college campuses, whether it's Black Lives Matter, where it's Occupy Wall Street, I mean, you can go back over the last decade and it's always funded by the radical left, anything that turns into something violent. Now, look, the media will lie to us. I go back to when there was a, police station on fire behind a report. It's like, well, it's been mostly peaceful out here, and you're watching a police station burn behind you and cities burn. But if there's anything that's been consistent with the Democratic Party is when they don't get their way or they feel like they're losing, they start to try to incite riots, violence, attacking Tesla dealerships, attacking drivers, shutting down roadways, shutting down bridges, and it's all funded by the mega rich, the people they say they hate the most, right? The top 1%, the richest people. They're out there, George Soros and others, and they're the ones buying all the tents that match and all these Occupy that they're doing across college campuses. They're anti-Israel. So this is now the Democratic Party. People need to understand that.
Well, exactly. And when you see the way that they are so disoriented and lost, and all they have is this kind of totally unhinged violence and rage without anything constructive. I mean, Jano, how do they get out of this?
To stop.
Well, they don't get out of it unless the media gives them a pass, which is something that we know that they regularly do.
The only way they get out of it is they got to stop.
George Soros is a person who's been the #1 donor to the Democratic Party. He's also been the individual who's funded over 75 progressive prosecutors, soft on crime prosecutors.
They need
and in
to cut
some of these
his money.
jurisdictions, you wonder who's going to be prosecuting these crimes if they're even at all prosecuted. The same person who's funding these various activities, whether they be protests that are violent, through Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, whatever the case may be, we seem to be able to really direct it back to him in many cases. And it's extraordinary that there's not been, at this point, at least that I'm aware of, a federal probe into some of the activities through the foundations that are funded by.
Yeah, because he could be possibly funding other terrorist agendas, whether it's domestically or abroad, that we don't know about. And I'm with him. I'm surprised Soros hasn't been investigated at all with the money that he's been propping up to fund all these, so-called Democrat causes and steering of law because, like soft on crime and all this, bullshit that he's funded over the years that's now backfiring because either all these politicians, for example, or all, are getting voted out of office, they're getting recalled, and laws are being overturned or reversed. I mean, all that stuff in general is biting Soros in the ass now, but he should be investigated for all that crap that he's funded because it's dirty money, right? And how far does it go, right?
Soros, because it seems like a lot of criminal activity is coming through those particular foundation and organizational groups. This has to come to an end. This is not America. This is not the America we all would want to live in. You should be able to have an opinion and protest without being violent. You should also be able to recognize that there are good things going on in our country and Elon Musk is doing them.
Ben, give me a final quick word.
Yeah, look, I think moving forward, what you're going to witness is the Democratic Party become even more radical because when they're losing control in Washington, I mean, for goodness sakes, look at how much they're taking heat from the Senate leader of the Democratic Party, Schumer. He's having to cancel events now because they're eating themselves. I mean, these are Democrats that are socialists and Marxists and communists within the Democratic Party. They're in a civil war right now, and I would say this: stand back and watch what they do to one another. They want to do it to you.
Let them fight it out of each other.
But he's going to accuse the Republicans of being rich and greedy. Please. Why don't you give a ring-a-ding-ding to Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, if you look at progressives like overseas, man, it's pretty bad out there too, like in the UK and all that, how they're acting and all that stuff, it needs to be squashed. So yeah, that sucks. They're terrible, and they're unraveling before our eyes, which is a great thing, and good to see though. I'm glad to see the unraveling happening with those fools. But let me see here. There was one other thing that was mentioned as well. So let me see here. Yeah, so here it goes right here. Like, you get these gang members, right? They're getting arrested, they're getting deported, and then you have a judge that's trying to call them back, right? Flights to Venezuela, no, sorry, not to Venezuela, to El Salvador, to their mega prison. And, the judge is trying to say, like, oh, no, you got to turn that flights back. They didn't get their due process. And it's like, get the fuck out of here, man. And so they got to go. All right, it doesn't matter. They lost their rights. They're guests. They don't get due process here. So let's go take a look at this.
Footage from El Salvador's government shows the shackled prisoners stumbling forward as heavily armed officers push them along their wrists, ankles, and waists, tightly bound, forcing them to shuffle in short, restricted steps before they are loaded one by one onto special units and military buses and transferred to a terrorism confinement center where they are scheduled to stay for at least 1 year. As a showdown continues between the Trump administration and the federal judiciary, President Trump said Friday that the migrants did receive some sort of due process.
Well, I was told that they went through a very strong vetting process and that that will also be continuing in El Salvador. But these are rough people. We want them out of our country. And I won the election based at least partly on that.
Exactly.
And at this moment, Natasha, it's still unclear if those Venezuelan nationals, the suspected turned out gang members, if they will be deported to Venezuela or if they'll be staying in El Salvador's mega prison for longer than a year. That still remains unclear at this moment.
Okay, appreciate that update. And Jorge, we're also hearing reports of dozens of TDA gang members being arrested this week. What can you tell us about that?
There have been a string of arrests of Trinidad gang members across the United States, and one of those did include a high-ranking member, a Venezuelan national arrested in Cobb County, Georgia, this week. That is Ricardo Gonzalez. He had an arrest warrant out of Chicago Police Department for kidnapping and also for 2 counts of first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. He's accused of kidnapping 3 female victims in Chicago and taking them to an alley where all 3 victims were shot in the head. 2 of them died at the scene. One of them.
So you're telling me that you dummies out there, progressives and that judge, are fighting for people like this guy? Like, well, I mean, what do you expect? That you're getting a killer like this off the street, especially that doesn't even belong in our country in the first place, and you're telling me that you want to fight for this kind of guy?
Survive, escape, and call 911. Gonzalez is now awaiting extradition to Chicago, and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem posting this video on X claiming that ICE arrested 68 TDA gang members this week
Get them
alone.
all out.
Under President Trump, America's borders are closed to lawbreakers. Follow the law, and you'll find opportunity. Break it, and you'll find consequences.
Fuck out of here.
This also comes as Venezuelan officials say that as of tomorrow, they will once again accept deported Venezuelan nationals to their home country. That is still developing. Natasha.
You know, it's funny because months ago, right, they were saying, nope, you can't send them back here. Don't send them back over here because they're not going to be welcome. And all of a sudden now they're taking their people back. Yeah. All right. That's what I'm talking about. That's power right there. That they're taking people back, you know, and reversing script from what they were saying months ago.
So learning that the Navy is also going to be deploying a guided missile destroyer to the southern border to support those border operations under President Trump's executive order. The Navy says that this guided missile destroyer will expand the military's maritime presence in response to achieving operational control at the border and gives the military a direct role in stopping threats before they reach American shores.
Plus, you know, that's also to address all the boaters that are trying to boat around the border since the border wall has been closed. And it was another way of entry in the U.S. There's been so many cases where boats were, you know, boating in to, you know, San Diego or Long Beach or whatever in the Southern California area, just to kind of go around the whole border wall situation. And now that's just to nip that in the bud. And I'm sure along the Gulf of America, you know, those coastal states, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, all those southern states are being protected as well, just to make sure there's no other boaters coming in. But mainly it's on the California, Mexico side there. So good stuff.
Natasha.
All right, Jorge Ventura with that live report for us from San Antonio. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Angela Story. All right, good stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. You gotta like the progress that's being made here, you know. And I just do not get why Democrats don't want to accept the progress being made. I mean, think about it. But they want to fight with domestic terrorism and violence and destruction and all that. I mean, how's that do us any good? But so yeah, so I just wanted to just cover all that information there. Plus the security clearance is removed. You know what, let me see if I can find who got removed. Security clearance. You know who needs to be removed? Revoked list. Yeah, I want to see the list here. Let's see. Rescinding. All right, let's look at this. Here's the full list. All right, that's what I want to see. I want to see the full list before we go. Let's see here. So Biden actually started that. So that's on Biden. And then you do the same thing, and then next thing you know, oh no, it's so bad. You know, Trump's so bad. Fuck out of here, man. Let's see here, man. Where's the list at? Here's the full list. They say here's the full list, and then they don't show the list. Oh, okay. It's not in a list format. All right, so that's why. Let's see here. So we know Biden got removed in the Biden family. Let's see who else here. Any other member of Joseph R. Biden's family? Okay, I like it. Vice President Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, National Security Advisor Jacob Sullivan, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, in addition, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Liz Cheney, Adam Kissinger. These are all either people that try to prosecute against Trump, or they were part of the whole Jan 6 committee. Let's see. The memo also includes whistleblower lawyer Mark Zaid, sorry. Fiona Hill, Norman Eisen, an attorney leading various lawsuits against the man, why all these people have security clearance anyways? I mean, shit. All these people don't need that shit. Shit. Yeah, so yeah, they don't need that shit. Yeah, just take them off. It's fine. Alright, so that's what happened there. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Alright, that this stuff got removed. Good shit, alright. So with that, that's the latest here. I just wanted to mention. You know, it's funny how when one side does things like the Democrats and then Republicans try to do the same thing back, and it's like, it's so bad, right? And but when Democrats do it, oh, it's okay, right? So, fuck out of here. So you have that Tesla, you know, going through it. It is domestic terrorism. I'm going to reiterate that. And then, of course, the Tren de Agua, more arrests being made. You got some dumbass pissant judge trying to prevent and block the efforts of sending these type of people to the El Salvador prison. And you're telling me you want to block those deportation flights to that? Like, why would you want to do that and put your name on it? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's some bullshit there. And you're trying to fight for gang members? Like, really? So, you know, think about that, alright? Comment down below. Let me know what you think, whether you're on Rumble or YouTube. And other than that, support your guy here on the Villain Club. And I'll see you in the next one.